Welcome everyone to the next episode of the Catributors podcast. Today's guest is Painezor. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm Painezor. I do World of Warships things occasionally, and I put googly eyes on things. It's really hard to give yourself an intro. Like, it's like, how do I introduce yourself? How do I tell people who I am in a couple of words? I have no idea. You tell me. How do you describe yourself?
I
Exactly.
like
It's
beer and
really
cats.
difficult, isn't it?
It wouldn't involve
Cheers.
googly eyes.
Yeah. That's my introduction. Yeah, I've just completely messed it up. It's great. Off to a great start. Continue. Start as I mean to go on. Just complete rambling. Here we go.
Well, I mean, we can just jump into the first dev block, which is a short one. It's about ship restrictions for the ongoing clan battles. Now, do you play clan battles? We both are not really clan battle people.
I've been playing this season. Like I think we're into Typhoon 2 at the minute. We're actually like not in Hurricane yet, and I'm kind of sad about it. But yeah, it's been a very sweaty season. Almost as sweaty as Outsiders right now. The meta was kind of stale. It was like, every single game we got double Condé, double Napoli, double Smaland, and then a Kremlin, or if somebody's feeling fancy, a random battleship. It's not exactly the most diverse meta.
Mm.
Yeah, so that explains why they're now limited to one Condé and one Napoli.
Yeah, so I believe this devlog specifically, and these changes came specifically because community feedback went directly to Bogsy and Seraphice, the NA and EU community managers, and they pushed for it because it turns out, like, I think the original thing was there was a couple of messages came out on the Privateer and CC Dev Q&A Discords, which is basically like, if we ban Condé, we're just going to see a switch to a different super ship, and we don't really see it as worth it because like people have spent 50 million credits on their Condés. Like, we don't want to make them spend another 50 million credits. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then we're like, no, the meta's really bad. Please do something about it. Because
it's interesting that it's so driven by like the community manager side of things rather than being bounced by devs or super testers or I don't know.
Well, we have CST. They exist, sure. Super testers not really who I would go to for balancing decisions, because super test is like the broad spectrum of the player base, like a proportional representation of the players as a whole, and I wouldn't. If I'm balancing for competitive, i.e. clan battles, I'm balancing for the top end of competitive, and if it was going to go at anybody, it would probably be CST, but I don't think they get much say in anything these days, to be honest. The reason it came via Bogsy and Sarah is basically those are actually relatively in touch with the competitive side of the community, and they're just like it's like, hey Bogsy, hey Sarah, can you like do something about this, please? Please, can you fix this? We don't like the meta, because like what the dev team, quote unquote, doesn't really play clan battles themselves. They're not in touch with the competitive side of the game, as we've seen time after time with like ships being horrendously overpowered, and it's like, Petro's fine. What are you talking about? 3 nerfs later, it's still banned from everywhere. It's like, and submarines, they're a thing.
Can submarines actually enter clan battles?
Not yet, thank God. Please, hopefully not for as long as possible. They're not ready, they're not fun, and it's not going to make for a very engaging environment, really, is it?
Yeah, that wouldn't necessarily stop Wargaming doing it, though. Let's face it.
Yes. Soon, submarines will take their rightful place in clan battles, right next to the aircraft carriers that everybody's been asking for, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Well, aside from clan battles, there are some changes to like test ships. You can comment much on that.
No, I can't really talk about it.
I don't think there's anything particularly striking there.
I mean, there's a big buff to Collingwood's bow. Like, that's a large buff from 16 to 26. But that's the only really notable change in that blog, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not sure. Are they going or I'm not sure if Wargaming has decided if they're going for the brawling British battle cruisers or if they're going for the like
that one
sniping ones.
That one's the premium. I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the one that Drac was very unenthusiastic about, to put it mildly.
Yeah. He was pinned by that one.
Yes.
Obviously, can't comment on any of the ships balancing because I have played them all, so it's like, I can't say anything. But I have opinions. I have very strong opinions. I'm not allowed to tell you what they are, but I have.
Well, then to a more interesting topic, there is apparently going to be a new map, which, I mean, they say it's in the early stages, so I don't know if this will even be this year or not, but it's nice to see that they are now working on a new map now that we've got Faroe Islands.
Yeah, I was speculating about this last time, that now that they're done with the underwater modeling stuff for existing maps, that we might start to see a more steady drip of new maps. So it's kind of hard to draw a conclusion from this, but maybe we'll start to see more new maps
I think
coming in, because it's been, there was quite a drought there for a while.
I think they've said in a recent Q&A somewhere that they're planning on releasing them at the state of about 1 or 2 a year, which, but they already have like 50 maps in the game this year, so they don't see a need for it, as opposed to like when the game was new. But have you looked at the layout of this like new map?
It's one of the more asymmetric ones, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see how the South team plays the game. Like, I don't know if you like. This is a podcast, so we can't really describe it. But okay, actually, we can describe it. What you do is you open Google Maps, right? You go to Google Maps, then you type in Seychelles Islands, right? Because it is literally, they have actually just taken the top right archipelago from the Seychelles. So if you just like scroll all the way in on the Seychelles, you go up and right a bit till you find La Digue. Or, I don't know how you pronounce it, but if you zoom into it, you can find the actual map in the game, so you can make your own decisions based on it.
Yeah, that is interesting, because I think that's the first time they've explicitly tried to do this rather than just use it as theming.
Yeah.
But I don't know how well it's going to work. But I mean, bear in mind, this is like the very first look at it. It might change substantially. Yeah, it doesn't look particularly balanced right now.
I mean, they say in the article that they want to use this to try to see if they can make real-world locations work in-game. But the problem, of course, is that real life isn't balanced. Nobody, it's not like islands decided to spring up because World of Warships wanted them to be there.
Yes.
I mean, if you're gonna do like a real life map, I want to see the Suez Canal. You just have both teams spawn at one end of the Suez Canal and just try and push down into each other. It's like Two Brothers with only the middle channel.
Yeah, but that you need, I think, like a low tier map for that. Then it would be hilarious.
This one, though, I think is actually meant to be for high tiers. Unfortunately, the Seychelles one. There is a line somewhere in that dev blog.
Yeah, I don't think Wargaming makes low tier content anymore. At least not when they can avoid it.
If you look at how many low tier premiums we've had over the last few years, we've had what? Almirante Brew.
Yeah, there's not been much below tier 5, has there?
There was, I think we had Agincourt, but that's a tier 5. I don't think we
get Rio de Janeiro is coming up soon.
That's also a tier 5, but I think that's only a slightly different version of Agincourt.
Yeah,
it's
more of a variation.
Yeah, they've got the same Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday gun layout. I think it's got a different bridge and a different gameplay, style, but it's
not secondary focused like Agincourt. Although we did see in that previous test ship blog, they're upping the reload to 31 seconds from 30, which is not the worst at tier 5, but it's still a little uncomfortable when a battleship goes over 30 seconds.
I mean, you see that, like, I think Vermont and that, after their recent changes, they seem to be doing all right, actually. It's not just, like, having high reload isn't the death knell for a battleship, but it does kind of...
No, absolutely not. No, it's just...
it's uncomfortable to play.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you're going to do it on a premium, you're going to kind of lose the incentive to people that want to buy a ship, because 31-second reload doesn't matter. Like, it's basically the Death Star effect, you know what I mean? It's like, sure, you can shoot one shot every game that will definitely dev strike a ship, but for the rest of the game, you're not really doing much. You know, you have the full 20-minute charge up time to actually one shot one ship, but it's like, yeah, like, I'll just sit over here for 20 minutes and reload. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, and it's like very frustrating for the involved, right? Because it's not fun to being like dev struck, and it's not fun to sit there and do nothing, just look at your reload, right?
Yeah, but you've got 7 reload bars, so you know what you can do, right? Is you can just decide, all right, to offset how boring this is going to be with a 30-second reload, I can just fire one turret every 4 seconds, and I've got a 4-second reload on 7
Hey,
guns.
that's Wargaming's advice from your newest Battleship video. Don't fire all your guns.
I mean, that's
You could
not bad
miss.
advice. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, yeah. But
Especially
the
if you're
argument
shooting
is you could miss, you know.
I mean, if
For-
you're shooting at
for
something like a French
context-
DD.
I was going to say, for context, Agincourt is 36, but of course that has got the secondaries.
I didn't realize that the Rio de Janeiro had a different reload time. To be honest with you, I just looked at them and it's just like, that is basic. I mean, aren't they historically the same ship? I'm not sure. Like,
Basically, like Rio de Janeiro is the what if. Agincourt is as it was actually fitted out when it was seized by the Royal Navy. Rio de Janeiro is what if it had gone off to its original, I think it was the Brazilian Navy, because they were the ones that initially ordered it, and then it kind of ended up getting sold to the Ottomans, and then it was the seizure of it for the Royal Navy that was one of the big factors in the Ottomans going in on the side of Germany and Austria.
history knowledge.
Austria,
I wish I
Hungary,
had
really.
some. I wish I had history knowledge. I can like vaguely gesture towards what the history was, but usually I need somebody like you or Killivan, or like literally, I just need a pocket history nerd to be able to tell me what I'm talking about. Luckily, this community is absolutely full of them. So if you need a history nerd for something, you just shout a question in the ether.
Yeah.
Somebody in Twitch chat will know the answer and have a 5-page dissertation on it ready to go.
It's one of the things with this game has actually much more gotten me into is this kind of naval history side of things. I didn't know nearly as much way back when I started.
Yeah, I had no clue about naval history. I'm learning bits and pieces as we go along.
Yeah, it's just learning via osmosis. If you just like, there's just history nerd conversations happening everywhere, and you're just accidentally learning things. Not going out of your way, but like you just like pick it up. Like it's just you just accidentally. It's like if you ever like hear those stories about people who just end up in a different country randomly and just learn the language by osmosis. It's basically like learning history by osmosis. So yeah, that new map.
So
not a fan.
Yeah, it's.
We'll see what comes out
changes.
of that. That is this is the very earliest look at it. So
I mean,
yeah, it'll be a while before we see anything more substantial, I suspect.
The problem with it is going to be is if this test doesn't work because that specific map isn't balanced. That doesn't mean that there aren't places in the world you could base a map off that would be balanced. It's just actually going out of your way to find the appropriate place that's going to be the problem.
It's nice in theory to have maps that historically represent different areas, but I suspect a lot of other people would still be much more in favor of, balanced maps that have a theme relevant to a certain area rather than this is an exact representation of, these islands or this bay or whatever.
Depends on the game mode. If you want to do for operations or an asymmetrical...
Well, for operations, yeah, I think that absolutely, would be...
It would also be alright for an asymmetrical battle mode if you've got like a full team of TR8s versus a full team of TR6. It doesn't matter how unsymmetrical the map is. Like the balancing factor is going to be a combination of the map being imbalanced, but also the teams being imbalanced. So you're going to have like 4 ships on one side, 8 ships on the other, or whatever it is. I can't remember how the exact mechanics work. So you could work it in asymmetric modes, but I've always been a fan of rotational symmetry for balanced maps. But unfortunately, apparently that doesn't work in World of Warships. For some reason, maps like Ocean and what's the other one map we have? We have one rotationally symmetric map. It's only available in clan battles and ranked.
Is that Crash Zone Alpha, or whatever it's called?
No, Riposte.
Okay.
It's the one that's got like, it's got like 3 caps that are all far too close together and really, really small. That's the only rotational symmetry. That and Ocean. But apparently they both have win rates higher for the northern team, which originally I was going to blame on the sun, but they tried rotating the sun at some point, and that didn't make the difference either. So there's something about spawning north that has a psychological impact on players and makes them lose more often.
I'm wondering if like people just have a tendency to go like on a certain flank, or if it's, I don't know. It's an interesting question.
Flank. It doesn't really matter if it's rotationally, unless you mean like. So when I spawn in, I think I naturally just press the D key and then W. It doesn't. Before looking at my team lineup, I'm like automatically turning right. Not looking at where I've spawned, I'm just automatically assuming I'm going to go turn right. And then I look at the map, it's like, oh, I'm actually let me go turn back now. I'm going to go left now, and I'm like 5 minutes late at the battle or whatever. But I don't know. If it's a rotational symmetrical map like that, you would think that everybody would do the same thing no matter what side they spawned on.
People are weird.
I'm currently just voguing right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting problem, right? And there isn't an obvious solution. What we need to see now is a heat map, like where do ships go, and then see if they position differently when they spawn in the north than the south. And then from them, you could probably try to figure out why.
I'm gonna go ask. I'm gonna go ask right now. This is Dev Q&A. Can we see a heat map of Ocean? Can we see heat map?
I mean, it's really interesting. Well, coming to something, not sure if we kind of classified it as interesting, but we've got some new changes to submarines, our favorite topic, yay. The most concerning part is already the first sentence. We continue to fine-tune submarines. You don't fine-tune submarines. You're miles off from fine-tuning submarines.
Yeah,
submarines are in like the a very rough state.
That sentiment was very prevalent on Reddit, and I think I looked at a forum thread as well. On the forums, and people were definitely taking exception to the fine-tuning part of that.
I mean, the biggest problem is that Wargaming is making very small changes to submarines, and they're introducing premium after premium after premium, or announcing that. So Wargaming seems at the state where they have genuinely believed that they've cracked it and submarines are fine. Because otherwise they would stop, like they basically seem to be like, yeah, we just like fiddle a little bit there, and we throw out all of our premiums and everything is gonna be fine. It's very concerning, but not like we can stop it, I'm afraid.
I'm getting flashbacks to the carrier rework, to be honest, when the point where it all was like, right, this is all ready to go, and a lot of people were scratching their heads and going, really? And it took a lot. It had a really long, drawn out tail end, and then there's a lot of parts of it that still don't feel finished.
We had day one Helkin Ryu. That was fun, Gaishu getting 500,000 damage games. Yep, completely fine. CV work is a complete success. Definitely nothing's gone wrong here. We're gonna have to completely rework the flooding system now because we didn't realize how goddamn broken it was gonna be. Spotting is still a nightmare.
I mean, we've had some vague noises about the changing of spotting mechanics for carriers, but it seems to be something that's being worked on at a very slow pace, or else they just keep trying and discarding millions of ideas, and we just don't get to hear about it. Maybe
well, the problem is every time they try an idea that sounds like it might be a good idea, they always slap on a weird little like downside to it as well. Like when they were doing that one test with the they had one test where CVs could only spot on a little cone in front of them. But for some reason, they decided at the same time they were going to increase the air spotting of every ship to its maximum spotting.
Yes.
Surface spotting, which means that you were going to be spotted at like 8 kilometers in a club air. So obviously, sure, the cone spotting is good, but the fact that I'm now being spotted by 8 kilometers away, like, why are you tacking on this needless thing? Do you literally want bad feedback on this so you can say, no, we tried, hold a hand, we tried, players didn't like it? And there was the other test as well where they had it so they halved the air concealment of every single DD, but they made it so that you would have an air bloom of 20 seconds at your full range. So, like, if you shot your air and just sectored your air during once when it was flying over, you would then be spotted for the full 20 seconds. Like, I like the idea of the air getting halved, the air spotting getting halved, but I didn't really like the fact that I'm now bloom spotted for 20 seconds because that doesn't make sense, especially if something leaves and then comes back into your air and then it somehow spots you again because you're still bloomed, but it hasn't been in you. It's just a mess. It's like, of course these ideas don't work.
Yeah, there was also the idea that anti-air basically starts shooting and doing no damage in a wider range, so you get air spotted even sooner. But if you turn your anti-air off, you are better concealed. If you turn it back on again, it only slowly ramps up, meaning you had to make a choice between getting screwed over by planes even harder or just never use anti-air. And it's like...
let's just have manual air. Just let me shoot my own guns. There, we fixed it.
Yeah,
I'll just shoot my own guns.
It's odd that they've. It's one of those instances where we can look at all this stuff and think, do they really have an idea what they want out of this? Do they really know what they're doing with their game? You just occasionally get that vibe from certain decisions.
It's the throw stuff at a wall and see what sticks approach.
Yeah.
If we just throw enough stuff at this wall, eventually something's going to stick, right? No, you just have a wall covered in shit now.
Oh, there's an image.
I mean, the saddest idea is that all you need to do is carriers only spot for themselves and can't spot for others, so they only do minmap spotting. It's an easy fix, it would work fine. And Wargaming claims that they tried it internally and it doesn't work, which is obviously bullshit.
Because we have cyclones that do literally that. We have radar render delay, which does literally that. We have those other weird weather mechanics that I think... Wait, did any of them make it? We have hydrophones currently, which do surface spotting only. Which apparently, I don't even know how that works, because like I remember watching my minimap yesterday as a DD was being hydrophoned, and I didn't even realize that was a thing, because the DD wasn't spotted. It was like, how long has he been on spot?
Yeah.
Wait, what? That just moved. What? So hydrophone mechanics are terribly explained as well. Just putting that out.
Yeah, it's always fine except for carriers. And that's why I feel like somebody just genuinely... I've joked in the past that carriers just have a very large lobbying effort, right? They basically pressure the Wargaming into not nerfing them. So every time, just to placate the masses, they come out with an idea that's actually a buff to carriers, and then like, oh, sorry, we tried, no, we can't do anything. And when somebody comes up with a good idea, they're like, we tried that internally, you never saw it, but trust me, we tried, it doesn't work.
Yeah. It's really weird, because we have like all these things. It was like, oh, we're going to test submarines on the live server, right? In this special mode called Submarine Battles. Where players can decide if they want to play with the submarines. And you can try all these new, crazy, wacky mechanics, and you can say, here's my feedback on this. But for some reason, they don't want to try that kind of mechanic with CVs, spotting, or anything. They don't want to do public tests on the public server anymore. Like, I don't understand this. Why was it okay to do it for submarines? Why is it not okay for other mechanics changes, like air spotting and all these things?
Reasons.
Probably money.
Yeah.
I think honestly, I think the bottom line is money on that one. It's like, well, players aren't going to stop playing the game if we don't fix aircraft spotting. However, we want to make some more money. So what we're going to do is we're going to force through these submarines, because we can sell so many extra, like, premium ships if we do.
Yeah.
How much less dev time it takes to make a submarine that we can sell. How many more players are going to be like, ooh, this game has submarines. I'll go try it. What's this game called? World of Warships. Like there is a market out there for submarine enthusiasts, you know, who would like probably want to come check out this game with the submarines added to it. So that's a bottom line decision, I think.
Yeah, but the question is just how many more people are they gonna capture with that, and how many are they gonna lose if they have a very bad implementation of submarines?
Well, the second follow-up question to that is, how is churn a good thing? Like, do they just want to increase the churn? Because we've already spent all the money. We've got all the premium ships. You know, we've been playing for years.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, right? Wargaming releases so many new premiums, and they wouldn't need to do that if they wanted just to sell to new players, right? You can sell a new player tier pits. You don't need Anhalt or whatever to sell to a new player, right? You have hundreds of premium ships that you can sell to a new player, but Wargaming pushes out so many new ships constantly that they're selling you. And there's constantly just sales of everything on the website. That's all just for existing players. So it looks like their whole marketing strategy is sell as much expensive stuff to existing players that are hooked on the game and don't want to quit because they've already spent so much money, and make them spend more. That's the feeling that I get.
The same reason submarines still exist.
I think this is certainly one of the more kind of niche multiplayer games out there as well, compared to, God, I don't even know. There's probably many
We're not League of
multiplayer, free-to-play shootery games or strategy games like. Does League count as a strategy? I don't know, but I don't know if they can really afford to have a strategy of like deliberately encouraging player churn, to be honest.
Well, if they had a strategy of wanting new players to come into the game, they should probably fix the tier 4 matchmaking system, because I don't like playing tier 4 with 2 CVs every game. It's like
it's funny that was like for years and years I was able to point to this versus World of Tanks as being a lot better in that regard, but I don't know if I can anymore. Certainly not for the last like 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know.
Like I've talked to several new players. Like basically, there's like, oh yeah, this game's really fun. I'm quite enjoying it. And then it's like, how can we stop playing? I got sick of being bombed by 2 CVs every game, and there's nothing I can do about it, and I can't shoot back at them. And it's like, yep. Does it get better at higher tier? There's less.
You see less. You see 2 CVs less often, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But the one CV you see is gonna be twice as strong.
I don't know about that. I don't about relative power. It depends. Like 2 seal clubbing. I don't know what's the strongest tier 4 CVs. Whatever the strongest tier 4 of them. 2 seal clubbers and those things do more work to get rid of players than as many FDRs as you can think of. As many United States. Like the people seal clubbing at tier 4 with carriers and their 21-point captains, with 2 of them at a time, going after this poor little battleship that's got 0 AA and no way to defend himself.
I mean, I agree. It's frustrating and it stops new players from playing. But from like the strike power, I'd say like there are a lot of higher tier CVs that are pretty broken.
Sure.
I think the difference is by the time you get to seeing higher tier CVs, you're already much more invested in the game versus lower tier CVs, where it's a lot easier to just go, oh yeah, okay, I'm just going to walk away from this.
It's not. The thing is though, as well, is sure the higher tier CVs have the raw alpha strike. But the lower tier ones have this constant stream coming at you to just build the frustration upon you. You'll get torpedoed once, and then it'll turn all the way around you, and you'll shoot down 0 planes because you have no AA. And then it'll drop another torpedo onto that side, and then it'll do another lap. It's got 6 drops. It's got to drop 6 times. Like, that slow, painful death is much worse than just being one shot, you know what I mean?
There is certainly some frustration involved, right? When you feel like you can't fight back and you're just slowly getting grinded down.
I used to love playing tier 4. Like, before the CV rework, when I could only be auto-dropped by playing CVs, I used to love playing Clemson. I used to take all of the pleasure in the world in just, like, going and bullying the 2 CVs that ended up in my games. It's just like... And then the CV rework happened, and they could no longer, like, forced to auto-drop, and then it's like, oh, actually, I'm being airspotted forever. I don't like this. This isn't fun anymore. I don't like it back.
It was definitely a huge drawback of the rework, and it has created this hump that people have to get past at Tier 4.
Honestly, I would be curious what would happen if you remove the Tier 4 CVs entirely. So they've decided with submarines, for whatever reason, that they're not going to exist until Tier 6, which makes me think that they recognize that, like, toxic mechanics at Tier 4, where your newer players are, is probably, like, not a good thing for player retention. I don't know.
I feel like they basically Wargaming is just giving up on lower tiers, right? So they don't want to spend much dev time into something that they can't monetize that heavily. So maybe they started at higher tiers. Although, how do they gonna do that when they are released, right? Do you need to play like a destroyer line and then suddenly jump over to the subline, or how do you start the subline then?
It'll probably just come off the side of the destroyer line, I guess. I think every line has actually German, Russian, British. Actually, do we have British submarines in testing, or do I imagine that?
I don't think so. I've not seen anything about
German, American, and Russian. Then was it? Yeah, just those three. Yeah, they've all got DD lines you can come off.
And there's a Japanese one definitely being tested as well.
Yeah, premium.
Yeah, it's the I whatever the hell, but without the chitons.
The submarine with the gun.
Yeah, because you're not allowed to have a chiton in the game because it won't go down very well.
And what's 24,000 hit points at a Tier 8 submarine?
Yeah, I mean, that's like a Tier 6 cruiser. I think there's destroyers that don't have that at Tier 8.
There's destroyers that don't have that Tier 10. Shimakaze base HP pool is 17,900. So, if you even with survivability expert, even with improved survivability expert, you're still not touching that. I think Elbing's 30. Like, majority of DDs don't hit 30k, so like 28,000 HP pool at Tier 8. I don't understand why submarines have to be tankier than destroyers, by the way. This makes zero sense to me.
Probably because people have found out that they can counter submarines by ramming them with a ramming flag, so Wargaming is like, no, you go down, destroyer.
I mean,
why not? Why are you not allowed to ram a submarine?
It kills the submarine. Wargaming doesn't want them.
I mean, yeah, we've had, I think, previous devlogs where they've talked about, their target for the number of players playing subs, or the number of subs in battles, and that they weren't quite reaching that. So we've had, I mean, like, speed is the obvious thing where I think pretty much all the subs in the game now are faster, in some cases dramatically faster than they ever were in real life. That they've had to change all these characteristics to like artificially inflate a bunch of things to make subs like fun for some players, but of course that comes at the expense of fun of other players, sort of thing. And the more they have to inflate certain things, the worse the disparity gets.
And the thing is, as well, though, is if you're doing all of these buffs to help out the worst players, if you put a super unicum in a submarine,
well, yes, that's it. Even now you get plenty of subs that like they have very little impact on the game, but then sometimes you'll see a sub player that is being annoyingly effective because they've figured out how to use all these tools, and they've maybe found themselves or been able to deliberately seek out the favorable circumstances that gets them the best result. So there's quite a wild disparity between good sub players and bad sub players that is very reminiscent of what life used to be like in the RTS carrier days, and Wargaming specifically moved away from that model to get away from that disparity, and yet here they are putting a class in the game that has exactly that disparity built into it.
Some would argue that CV still has disparity as well. It's it's a whole thing. It's
a head scratcher.
So, I think the problem is Wargaming's reluctance to adopt a trickle-down balance approach. For some reason, they've always said that we don't balance around the top end of the player base, we balance around the average player. And this means that in a situation like this, you're going to end up with things that are when you get the one guy who actually does know how to play with the ship, he's going to be pumping out such ridiculous numbers compared to all of the people who haven't quite figured it out. who are making him by making the averages look so much worse than there's just him and his 500,000 damage per game United States or whatever. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, that to me, though, when you have just this inherent issue with a ship or a whole class of ships in this case, that really makes me think, well, maybe this shouldn't be in the game or not
well,
in
there's
random
always that.
battles.
It's almost as if there was a couple of modes that would perfectly suit submarines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some sort of like a convoy attack and defense kind of mode. It's like, which I always find it funny. Like the last time we had submarines on the live server, we had the operations and convoys were the two modes that you couldn't actually play submarines in. Submarines
Still can't. I mean, you can now do. You can take, I think, one sub per side in the convoys, but you still can't take them into operations.
Yes. It's. I've never quite understood this one. It's the perfect place to put them. Nobody's going to mind operations with submarines in. People might actually enjoy operations with submarines in. I might have actually enjoyed that one operation we had with submarines a while ago. What was it, the Halloween one? That was actually kind of fun.
That was our very first taste of subs in game, in fact.
It was.
It was the most fun version of submarines in the game so far.
It was. We didn't have all this stupid underwater world gimmickiness and all these like maximum depth reach. We didn't have plane launched ASW, which makes zero sense at all, by the way. Oh, don't worry, we're gonna just launch 5 planes out of thin air from your ship that doesn't even have catapults. But it's fine. Don't worry about it. We're just gonna ignore the fact that the Dutch cruisers spawn about a hangar's worth of planes every like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And since the Dutch cruisers already have planes, let's not give them anything against submarines, because they are so strong anyway.
Oh yeah, because everybody look at how much these Dutch cruisers are completely dominating every competitive match.
You can't even. The sad thing is, you can't even do much with the Dutch cruisers in operations. You know, in a really controlled environment where you pretty much know where everything's going to happen. They still do really badly in there as well. I mean, to be fair, some lines and classes and nations just don't do that well in ops, but yeah, they're definitely right up there with the least effective of them.
There was a dev Q&A a while back where I think they said they were investigating the potential of scaling operations up to higher tiers, which kind of sounded fun, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, that was always one of the downsides of operations, because there aren't that many, that you were fixed to certain tiers, right? So if you were more interested in playing operations or co-op in general, right, you can play regular co-op at each tier, but you are locked to certain tiers, so you can't like level your ships through operations in itself.
It was almost. I mean, I don't know how much you remember this, but way back in the day when you could take tier 5s and tier 6s into operations. I mean, it could almost be a more interesting challenge to take tier 5s, but of course they stopped doing that because people in the tier 5s were just generally doing, you know, they were hurting the win rates overall too much. So instead of sort of rebalancing things, instead they just went, well, okay, just single tiers for operations then. Just do it that way.
See, I've never understood about operations is why you can't just go in solo. I want to go in and solo Narai. I want to pick a random ship and play a solo. I just want to go through Narai. I don't care if I don't get rewards at the end of it. Sure, whatever, because otherwise it will be grossly inflated. But can think of all the little community events you could have where it's like, all right, who can get the highest score in Narai? Who can get most damage or or if you managed to kill everything, who got the best time or whatever. You could have so many little cool little community events and base it all around this if they just let us do things in operations properly. And then this leads into a much bigger rant about let me have custom maps, let me have custom scripting in training rooms, let me have tower defenses with Schlieffens as tower. No, that's a whole lot. That's a whole other rant. I will spend 20 hours talking about why I need custom maps for Warships and how I will never leave the training room.
That's one thing actually where War Thunder really does a lot better in that you can have custom maps and modes and things like that, and you get people adding entirely new planes and ships and whatever.
I didn't know War Thunder had that.
They've modeled themselves. So yeah, I don't know if it's if it's particularly huge scene, but I know that it is possible that it exists. So I mean, there was a video, and this was a while back now. I think it was on Fly Daily's channel, where he was in like a fan-made Vulcan bomber that someone had put in, and you could only play it on this one custom map that they'd made, but it was a fully working Vulcan, which obviously isn't in the game normally. So yeah.
I mean, you could do all sorts. Like, if you could do like full historical custom operations, you could do like little racing mini modes. You could have you could ban weapons. Like, you could disable the primary weapons. You could reduce the torpedo reload on Klebas or something, and just like make your own little Kleba. Oh, stop it! I'm gonna get into a rant now.
I mean, that's one of the things. There are other games that do that. Like Payday 2, for instance, which I play a bit. Has these things called mutators, and you can just play the regular missions with them, but the mutators will change things sometimes quite drastically. So, like, you get one enemy type replaced with a different enemy type, or guns behave differently, or I don't even know. Like, turrets behave differently, or
my Colbert suddenly
there's
shoots
other various effects that can happen. So there's always scope for things they could be doing. There's a lot that they leave on the table, it feels like sometimes.
Doesn't StarCraft have like its own sort of mini game modes, or so, like a tab where you have special game modes, so that you can play?
I mean, that all born out of Warcraft 3's amazing custom map scene, which is like, Warcraft 3's custom maps spawned genres. Like, League of Legends and Dota came from Dota, just in Warcraft 3 custom maps. And then you've got tower defenses. You've got hundreds of tower defense games all over the internet now. They were all over Warcraft 3. I think they may be even StarCraft as well, like the original StarCraft. And I kept going back into Warcraft 3. I had no interest in replaying the campaign over and over or whatever. I had no interest in playing ladder in Warcraft 3. The only thing that made me want to play Warcraft 3 was going into custom maps and playing stuff like Castle Defense or Footman Frenzy or like all of these other like tower defense games. And it just made me open the game, and just once you have somebody open the game, then you can do all the marketing to them. They have the game open. This is what you want. You can then be like, hey, look, we've got these offers, by the way. We're selling San Diego right now. You can come buy San Diego. Like, it's like, oh, yeah, I want a San Diego. While I'm here, let's just check. I'll just take San Diego. Let's take it on a random battle. I'll go play the custom maps in a bit. Just something to get you to open the game like that. But no, these are things that companies don't take into account. These are like things that's like, I don't see any point in developing for the training room, no.
Yeah, if they can't directly monetize it, a lot of companies just dismiss it outright, unfortunately.
It's the same with operations, though. It's like, people have been for ages saying, oh, we don't see a point in working on operations, people don't play them. I know hundreds of people have bought ships specifically for operations. The amount of people who bought Atlantas for Narai, it's like I'm going to buy Atlanta so I can play Narai.
Certain premium, like Warspite at Tier 6 is a really good example of that. Just does well in pretty much all operations as well. Or the Eitel Friedrich, or
Weimar.
I don't even know. Scharnhorst. Scharnhorst is excellent for Narai.
This is a monetization thing that is not being tapped into, because for some reason they've decided that operations aren't worth the development.
Yeah, we were talking about this last week. Sometimes there's just things like, in the context of camos, there are a lot of times where you'll encounter somebody in battle with a camo on the ship, and you might go, oh, that looks really nice. I'll see if I can go and buy that after the battle. And you just can't.
Yeah,
it's weird.
The fact that we finally got this exterior separation thing happening, so we can actually run the camo one, that's fantastic. I'll be petitioning that for ages.
Make things better.
Because now I'm gonna see, I'm gonna spend 200 doubloons on Permacamos every, I get 10,000 doubloons a month. I'm gonna buy 50 Permacamos a month. I don't care about the booster part. I just want my ship to look nice.
Yes.
Yeah. And all of those consumable camos, you can now finally just buy them for credits and just have them like, today I want my ship to look purple, or I want, the pie camo, or I want whatever.
They're a little expensive though. 40,000 credits for no in-battle thing. Some of them, it's maybe make that sense.
Yeah, I don't care. If it makes my ship look pretty, I'll give you 100k credits for a battle.
Fair enough. I mean, like this is a thing that we've seen for ages. Like I've got all of these permacamo stuff, like the space battles camouflages, the Halloween battles camouflages, a bunch of event camouflages for my TS7s, my TS6s, my TS8s that I will just never use because the bonuses aren't as good as the expendable camouflages that I've got 50,000 of just sitting there over in a corner in some warehouse that nobody even knows. I don't even know how we're storing it. I'm surprised that I'm not having to charge, having to pay rent to keep all my camouflages in there. But now I can finally use all these really good-looking permacamos that I've been sat on for ages. I can run around with my like Great Gorgon Shokaku or whatever because it's not going to be a worse bonus than the one that I could apply for it. Which I really like. I really like this change. It's something I ranted about. This is something that I was given feedback on for months and months and months. Like from day one of joining that program, I was just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put feedback in. I want a separation of the I want to be able to. Well, it wasn't. I wanted to be able to pick a camouflage for the exterior effect. This whole like, oh yeah, we're changing it to boosters. That part I don't give. That's just that's some whole mess. It's fine. Apparently, it works out better, but it didn't need to happen. You know what I mean? I just wanted to be able to pick a camouflage that was the visual appearance.
Yeah, I've wanted that for a very long time. And there are so many options. If they finally go with that route, they could just also develop more camouflages to sell and focus on the monetization. Like, why aren't there more camos with cats on them in the game? I mean, seriously.
Well, exactly.
You've got Izorogu. You got the Unsinkable Sam ones. That's like 4 camos total, right?
Yeah, there is the HSF Harakas and I think 3 Sam camos also.
Yeah, that's the Izorogu camo. Look, I'm not a weeb. I just know this because I was bought. Like it was the first premium ship I ever owned, and somebody bought it for me as a gift. So I just know what that camouflage is called. Okay, I'm not a massive weeb. Don't worry.
Sure, we believe you. Wink. I mean, it's not like we judge.
I can't remember what we're going on about now. Oh yeah, cat camo. No, if we're gonna have like this kind of option of purely cosmetic customizations for monetization methods, let me have custom horns. Present me a list of horns in the armory, have a little button that lets me play the sound in advance, and let me choose one. And when I press N, it goes like those, just comedy horns.
Yeah.
You would make a fucking killing out of it. Just charge 200 doubloons each and make it so you have to mount it to the ship, so you have to buy a shitload if you want it for every tier 10 or whatever. I would totally spend all of my doubloons on funny horns. And then, once you've done that, make a decal system. Make a decal system and allow us to have some sort of content creator program, right? Where we can have like our assets sold on your store and we get a cut. Sounds like a fantastic idea, right?
I'm not sure if they'd go that far, but they could sell their own decals at least.
They could sell their own decals, but they could also monetize decals from people who make content for their game.
Yeah, but I think that the problem is that they'd involve like a legal process. They'd have to make sure that the content creator actually has the rights, and then they'd have to grant the rights to Wargaming to use it and so on. So I feel like that would probably be a legal mess.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if it's a legal mess if it makes them a boatload of money.
Okay.
This is just like my fantasy ideas of like how we could monetize cosmetics, because I want I don't understand how we don't even have simple things like shaders. Every other game has shaders. What you can do is just like, okay, this is the camo scheme that I want to run, right? It's got these diagonal stripes. Just let me pick what color the stripes are.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It can't be that hard, right? It's like
you offer a couple of patterns, and then you have like a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary color or something like that you pick. Like it's in so many games.
Yeah,
World of Tanks kind of has something like that in that you can pick. I don't think you can customize colors on the camo patterns, but you can choose custom colors for different parts of your tank, just like solid colors. But
Just so
I
much-
agree, being able to have custom colours on patterns would be nicer.
Just love a little rainbow across my ship, you know. It's like, yes,
Why
I
not?
definitely need this.
And then some googly eyes, obviously.
Yes, that's the other thing I need. Right, so once we've got the decals in game, we're also going to sell bindable googly eyes that you can just mount on top of each of the turrets. So you can position them. You know, you sit there, you get 3 slots for like random accessories, right? And then you can put the googly eyes on the turret, or on the bridge, or on the bow, or on the stern, or on the torpedo launcher. Just literally anywhere. Just let me. No, I think I'm asking too much now, aren't I? No, I'm asking for. This is something. War Thunder does it. Why can't we?
You know, speaking of eyes, there are what I've wanted is there are some camels, they're like Halloween camels, so that have eyes on them. I always wanted eyes that actually move and track. Wouldn't that be cool? If you have like a camel with like this monster head on top, and then the eye would just always look at you.
You mean like I think there's like those paintings that do the same kind of thing. You just have to make just so like it's always looking at the camera. And the Great Gorgon would be a really good one for it. The Chicago camel, yeah.
I mean, they have some that are a little bit animated. I think like the Kraken moves the tentacles a bit or so. And of course, like there are the flamethrower waterworld camos or so, where they have flames coming out and so on. So they could definitely animate an eye.
I don't understand. We need these animated googly eyes. This is like a thing. Why is this not a thing? Conway promised me this about 2 years ago. He said that we'd have them by the year 2025. He said it as a flippant comment on one stream as a joke, but I clipped it, and it's getting closer and closer to 2025 every day.
As we all know, if you say a thing on the internet, it must inherently be true.
Yes.
Understandable. And then in the year 2025, I'm going to be like, hey, Wargaming, you've broken your promise to me.
Time to sue.
And Wargaming is like, yeah, not the first time.
Yeah. But it's fine, because then they'll make a really bad premium for me. Wait, no, it's...
Premium Submarine.
but that does not go down that route.
Moving on. Yeah, so we've once upon a time started talking about submarine changes. I mean, basically they've changed the submarines are now faster on the surface and a little bit slower underwater, and they all turn a little bit better.
Which really didn't need, to be honest with you. They really don't need better turning radius underwater. Because have you ever been in a destroyer or any ship on top of a submarine?
Yes.
Trying to get on top of it and like drop your depth charge or whatever, and it shouldn't outturn a submarine, a destroyer, while also having more HP than a destroyer, because HP pools are meant to be based on tonnage, right? Something with that much, I don't. It just doesn't make much sense. I don't understand this game anymore. Like,
I mean, it's another one of those. Well, we were talking about this. It's just completely artificially inflated that it doesn't actually have the same relation that it should do for other ships.
I don't know how well submarines turned in real life. Do you know how well submarines turned in real life? I like genuinely.
No, but these are very, very good numbers. You know, if you were in a destroyer, you would be extremely pleased to be able to turn this tightly.
Yeah. You could like dodge and things, and like do all this kind of stuff where like you could predict where the depth charge is going to be dropped on top of you. But you know, you could just choose which direction you want to dodge in, or to not dodge at all, because the marker on the surface only tells you where you were when you pinged. It doesn't tell you what direction you were going. It doesn't tell you whether you're going up and down. It doesn't tell you how fast you were going backwards, forwards. It doesn't tell you what any of the angles at all. But apparently, when a submarine pings, you can't have the marker directly on top of it, because that wouldn't give the submarine player a chance. Never understood that one. Never understood that logic.
I mean, so somewhat recently, I was in a set 52, and I had hydro going, so I hydro the sub. It was on the surface, right? Sub kept coming directly at me, at my nose, which is a pretty dodgy thing for, because if the sub's good, you're dead. But I just went for it. So I shot it. Submarine did nothing. Didn't dive or anything, kept coming. And then at about 4 or 3 kilometers, it launched its torpedoes. Didn't ping anything. Didn't launch them very well. And then it decided to dive, and then I just sailed over it and depth charge it. And I think that's the sort of submarine that Wargaming is balancing for, because I wouldn't have had a chance if that submarine knew what it was doing, right? Because if it just dives, I can't do anything, right? If it pings me and like staggers its torp launch, I can't do anything. Like destroyer damage can last for 5 seconds, can immediately reping, and then the other torps will all hit me. There is like not
2 kilometers and doesn't bother pinging you, and you have no reaction time.
Yeah, it's but you know the submarine basically it just stayed on the surface instead of like going to instead of diving and being safe, right? It just sailed directly into me, even though it was hydroing, and kept just sailing directly underneath me, so I could depth charge it. It's like it helped me a lot, right? But this is, I think, like the kind of submarine play that Wargaming is balancing. And that's the sad part, and that's why we don't see any nerfs to submarines, because even in a situation that you should have no chance of surviving in a set, you just utterly farm the submarine because it doesn't even know how it's shipped. But hey, I guess they recover dive capacity slightly slower now.
Yay! So my biggest so I've had thoughts on how I would pick submarines. Like, you know when you're just idly thinking about how much you hate them, and you're thinking, all right, what do I hate about them? And I think the biggest problem for me is the fact that they're being balanced around the ability to do both play styles. They're being balanced around the ability to simultaneously do all this ping spam crap with homing torpedoes and the shotgunny stuff. If you want to split the submarines into one of 2 playstyles, you can have both playstyles, but each submarine is only good at one of them. You can then balance around it accordingly. You can say, all right, this is the ping spammy submarine. He's going to have 0 health pool, but he's going to have good concealment. He's relying on never, ever being spotted. He's going to have a HP pool of like 12,000 or something at tier 10. And he's going to just like skirt around the outside, try to find a battleship. He's going to have good concealment. It doesn't matter. He can outspot destroyers. That's fine. While he's on the periscope. But the other type of destroyer, the shotgunning ones, they're going to have bigger concealment than destroyers. They're going to be hard spotted. And then they're going to have to make a conscious decision when they're going to go in, do their dive run to go pop up next to something. They should have to deal with the same kind of stuff that a Paolo Emilio, for example, has to deal with. Am I in radar range? Am I in hydro range? When can I do this timing? Am I going to be punished for this? And they shouldn't have this, like, they should be able to just, they shouldn't just be able to go under the map, under everybody's hydro, under everybody's radar, ignore all of the mechanics of this game's concealment system completely, pick a ship anywhere on the map and shows, I'm dev striking that one. And then 2 minutes later, I'm going to do the same again to that one, that one, that one. But that's only the good players, the ones that they don't balance around.
Yeah.
Like, if you split the 2 submarine types, you can then balance accordingly around it and have it so that each of the things has its own strengths and weaknesses and is each punishable. So you wouldn't have, like, if you're going to have the shotgunny type, he's not going to be able to spam torpedo pings at 15 kilometers and be really annoying, going diddling, diddling, diddling. He's like, which is, there's just half the problem with submarine. Not their impact. But the low impact ones are still really fucking annoying and stressful to play again.
It's like an annoying Smolensk player that might not necessarily be, playing that well, but they're still absolutely raining down shells on you from their smoke, and there's nothing you can do about it. Then it's incredibly frustrating.
He's shooting AP and bouncing every single shell, but he's
yeah.
But there's also the problem that you just don't know how good the enemy submarine is, right? Because if it's a bad submarine, you might be able even for destroyer to rush it and sink it because it doesn't do anything, right? But if it's a good submarine, you're just dead. So you always have to play around submarines, thinking like, what if this enemy is actually good, right? And you have to be very careful around it, and then hopefully you figure out that has no idea what they are doing. And it's so annoying when you know that there's a submarine on the map. And then there's a submarine spotted, or maybe it's not even spotted, right? I mean, that's obviously the problem of a good submarine, right? You are in a nice position. You basically nothing has ever been spotted around you. You yourself aren't spotted. And suddenly a submarine pops up and bang, and you're like, "Oh, this was fun." We've had raiders going before that. We've had hydros going around here. We had a destroyer screening, but nobody could see the submarine. You just came in, surface, bam, you're dead, and you're like, ah.
I had fun.
Yeah. Good thing we've had all this hydro radar and screening going on for us. That sure worked out.
Mm-hmm. It's a good job that we've like built our we're gonna bring this into clan battles. This is the theory. Like we're gonna bring this lineup. We're gonna bring 2 Petropavlovsks. So we're gonna have radar control over the caps. We're gonna bring Smarland, so we can have radar control over that. And then we're gonna put, we're gonna have a Kremlin over here. He's gonna take positional control. And then a submarine just walks in and is like, all right, I'm here to disrupt your meta completely. Right, I'm going to sail into this cap. Something in the cap. Radar, please. Hi, I'm a submarine. Bye, I'm going to dive now. All right, can anyone depth charge it? No. Why? Because I'll have to push into their whole... It just, you know what I mean? They don't fit in at all. And you can't punish it because he's burned your radar and he's now unspotted and you can't do anything about it. The only thing that's got only thing on your team that's got depth charge range more than 6 kilometers is probably a Kremlin. He's 12 kilometers away. He can drop his planes, sure, but like you have this whole awkward meta of I don't how do you fit a submarine in this?
It's also weird just how what I've never understood is right that depth charge planes of cruisers are so much worse than of battleships, and then the vast variety of depth charges also from like destroyers that they drop. Because depth charges are so vastly different in their effectiveness. It's weird.
I mean, the thing with destroyers, though, is that even though they're much more potent, good luck actually getting into a position where you can use them a lot of the time.
So I think
generally speaking, if I'm in a destroyer trying to do something about a submarine, the best I can do is spot it and hope somebody else drops the airdropped depth charges on it.
So I think the reason that they're in the current state of battleships do the most damage is because you remember right when we had the initial submarine test, destroyers had the strongest depth charges. Destroyers were the only things with depth charge. It wasn't any of this airstrike mode. And everyone was saying, this is putting far too much workload on the destroyers, like if they're the only ones. And then Wargaming's took that and ran with it. And they're like, all right, so we're not allowed to make... It's too hard for destroyer players to deal with submarines. So what we're going to do is we're going to make submarines hard counter destroyers instead. And then we're going to make it so the battleships are the ones... We did a complete 180 on the strength of depth charges based on the classes. For some reason, because they've completely took what we said as that was more of please get rid of the submarines. They're not going to fit into the game as this is the only problem with the submarines. Okay, we'll do it this way. So we've ended up with this inverted depth charge system because we complained about the one expected counter of the destroyers being able to counter the submarines, and it's a whole mess. We're just going to have these random mechanics where battleships can rain down depth charges from the sky. This will make submarines fit into the game, right?
Definitely. But it's also, for example, the German depth charges of destroyers. They do 2,000 damage, and then Nishima does 4,000 something damage, I think, right? And they have about the same amount of charges they drop, and then there's a gearing that has good damage, but only looks 6 charges instead of 12, and then the variation of the damage on depth charges is huge. But I don't know why. It's just some nations are screwed. Even more so than you are.
I think the Pan-Asians got it the worst. When everybody else got updated, I think the Pan-Asians weren't touched for some reason. And also, the Pan-Europeans are just they're a weird system. Okay, so what we're going to do, right, is we're going to have it so you don't know where your depth charges are going to go until you press the depth charge button. And then you're going to have to pray that you've guessed right. Because some of these ships have a limbo system, and it's going to shoot 2 kilometers in front of you. You know that limbo system that was actually targetable, so you could aim it in real life. No. Fixed thing that goes 2 kilometers in front of you. You're not allowed to target this. No. We're not going to tell you where your depth charges are going to launch. You're just going to have to get lucky. So what we're going to do for this random ship, right? Your first depth charge is going to go straight off the back. Your second one's going to shoot 3 kilometers that way to the left-hand side. One of them's going to go off your starboard bow, and then you're going to spam 6 off the back again, and then 2 more in front of you. And then just to make things fancy, we're going to shoot 120 kilometers up in the air and it's going to land in 10 minutes.
I know, like, at first I thought, like, hey, I can shoot depth charges at front, this must be an advantage, but it's such a disadvantage trying to hunt it. Also, like, every little bit that you turn your ship, the depth charge just flies way off, because, a small turn of your ship and your complete aim is off, not that you know where you're aiming in the first place, right? But with another ship, at least, if you can get in a position on top of the destroyer, on top of the sub, you can at least hit it, but with, like, a Halland or so, it's so annoying because you cannot hit what you want with your depth charges. And the worst thing is you can't even use your guns because they're blocking your guns. If the sub's at the surface, you can't shoot it with your gun because you've got to give an angle that your gun shoots.
Yeah, I think depth charges need a rework.
Yeah.
Or just take out subs from randoms.
I think I'll agree with that one. Honestly, I tell you what. Should we make a quick poll right now, just between the three of us? Who wants submarines to stay in the game? All right, who wants rid of them?
I would like them to stay in the game, provided they were in
operations,
like just operations or convoys or something like that.
That's fine.
That's the general. I think that's the general consensus of literally every single person I have ever talked to about submarines, apart from like random people from the official channel Twitch chat who suddenly say, "We like submarines," and for a fact that's going to be the guy who he plays one game every 3 weeks, and buys a new premium. He's like nothing against that guy. They're the guys that keep the game running. But that doesn't mean...
the thing with subs as well is like it's just the nature of sub warfare that it's so much more suited to single player experiences, and there are some really good single player sub games out there.
Like Barrow Trauma.
Hell, I mean, I know there hasn't been a Silent Hunter game out for a while, but was it Silent Hunter 4 or something was the last one to... Or is it 5 came out and it was terrible and everyone still plays 4? It was something like that. But, these older games still have a really big modding community. You still find people doing Let's Plays of them on YouTube. You also have newer games like U-Boat, which is much more kind of crew-focused. But again, there's various realism mods and things for that make it into a much more sort of authentic experience. But yeah, the kind of gameplay that translates from how subs were used in real life, it's really hard to do multiplayer. I mean, even something like Cold Waters, where it's modern submarines, it would be hard to imagine that in some kind of multiplayer setting.
I think they've gone so far down this abstract path of how the submarines are going to work with this random ping system that they've pulled out their ass for no reason with homing torpedoes. Like this, if you just stuck with the operation style one that you had 3 years ago, it might have been workable. Just pick you can either have periscope, depth, or surfaced, or just a little bit underwater. Those three. None of this stupid 3D underwater turning things. None of this, my torpedoes are going to rise and we're not actually sure whether... None of this homing bullcrap. Just be like, you have torpedoes in the bow. You have torpedoes in the stern. Occasionally, you get a little gun on the top as well. And you can go up above the water and shoot. Or you can go into periscope and shoot. Or you can go underwater and not shoot. But you can be shot at. It's like just go back to that system. None of this stupid air depth charges, ASW planes, none of these things. Just go back to the simple things. This is needlessly overcomplicated.
It's funny in the past as well, because they've talked. I think it was possibly Sub Octavian himself talked about certain things they have done or haven't done because we don't want to make things too complicated for the player. We want to keep things relatively consistent so there's not like odd exceptions and weird things that people have to remember, except then they keep doing stuff that actually is like, well, here's a weird thing you're going to have to remember. Here's a thing that doesn't really work like anything else. His depth charges that are different depending on whether they're airdropped or not, and they have different efficacies across different nations, and all these things that just kind of like
We've
don't,
standardized
don't
things.
really fit together well.
We've standardized all the radar ranges of the American cruisers, except this one, because we need to have an exception. We've made it so all of the radar ranges are going to be 10 kilometers, apart from this one, this one, and this one. But we're going to have a light cruiser radar range of 9 and a heavy cruiser radar range of 10, except for Wichita is going to use the heavy radar range, and this one's going to use the light cruiser radar range. And then, yes.
And then we have a Missouri with just a different range, and then we have destroyers with radar.
And then we have, like, Ochakov with, like, American radar or something. I don't even know anymore. It's a complete mess.
And soon we're gonna have a Soviet premium submarine with 10-kilometer hydrophone.
Yeah, that's a thing.
So seeing that they basically Soviets get the good underwater radar, not just the overwater radar, right?
You remember the old joke about Kremlin's deep water radar? It's finally coming back.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think they do either.
No, they
Can
they
feel
have no
that
clue.
way.
It's just depressing. It's like,
well,
you're watching like this game that you're like, you've spent so much of your time in, and you're like, what? No, don't do that. It's not gonna. That's a bad. No, please, no. That's generally my experience with submarines. That's how it's gone. Just slowly deflating as like time goes on. Every time I see a submarine dev blog, like my mood just goes like I'll be like, right, dev blogs. Time to go over some dev blogs. Change the test ships. This one's getting balanced. This one's getting balanced. Upcoming maps. Oh, this one looks quite interesting. And there's new achievements. Cool. Changes to submarine. Oh, fuck. It's just like feel the air drain out of you.
In the early days, you had the hopes maybe they're doing something good, and now you are like, oh, how did they screw it up this time?
Oh, they're buffing them again. Okay, cool. Yeah, submarines really needed a better turning radius.
I was always a bit skeptical, but had the kind of mindset of, well, maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe they'll take lessons from various things that have happened in the past, and when they say if it doesn't fit, they'll actually, that they'll take it out and that they actually mean it, and but maybe we'll get something that is actually a good addition to the game somehow. Even though I couldn't quite envisage how at the time, but nope.
I remember kicking off originally about Dutch cruisers. I thought they were going to be like, horrendously broken and overpowered, and just like, we don't need more planes in the game. CVs. They're not that bad. Dutch cruisers aren't that bad. Submarines, on the other hand, they're terrible. I hate them. Despise them.
Yeah.
It is possible to bring a new mechanic into the game, and the mechanic will be okay. The mechanic to even be fun. I kind of find it fun, like launching depth charges at a lion and getting 40k, not depth charges, sorry, like Dutch airstrikes and getting like 40k on a lion, because you actually have to have some sort of skill to use it, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to be able to, like, it takes a new level of like ability, because you have to be like doing a lead in 3D or 2D, but instead of like 1D. Like, you have to just predict the turn, position the things, use the lead. It's a whole new skill set. Whereas with submarine top spamming, it's like, you don't even need a skill set. You just need to click repeatedly, pings, ping, ping. Eventually, you're going to hit a ship. Then you switch to press the 2 button to get your homing torpedoes, and you just launch them out, right? It's not like you have to use a lead indicator with a destroyer. It's not like you have to predict where this ship's going to turn, whether it's going to stop. It's not like you have to, like, go to, like, you don't have to, like, work your way past destroyers to get a torpedo line on the battleships. It's not like you have to be in a battleship where you have to, like, predict where the enemy destroyers are going to be, and you're like, all right, I'm going to angle this way. I know that I overmatched this cruiser here, so I'm going to try and get over this, right, and I'm trying to catch him as he's going to turn this broadside turn, because he can't sit and face that. I'm going to angle lock him, so I've got a crossfire forming. Like, none of this, no. Ping, I pinged you. Torpedoes now. It's not a skilled interaction, and that's my biggest gripe about homing torpedoes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exactly the same criticism people have made with the how AA has wound up now. It's actually less interactive than it was before, and it feels so much less meaningful than it did before.
With the old panic effect, for stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
sad now.
yeah. We can move to something more hilarious and funny, I suppose. In the news, there is a how to play battleships article.
There is. So in this video that they had, the video features footage from players from a lot of top CIS clans like Lair and others, and it was actually quite a good video. Article, not so much.
Which is interesting because the article is supposedly based on the video, but they are telling you sort of different things. So, I mean, the video is obviously a very short thing and it's not very detailed, but it generally raises a few interesting points. What I mostly disliked about the video is that they are not using the full battle interface and the minimap is very small and so on. Like, if you're making a guide video, use the proper UI, right? But generally, the video was decent. But the article is, oh shit, this is bad. The article basically starts with keep your distance, where they're explaining to you that you should have the border, be as far away as possible, and don't use cover. Because as a battleship, if you use an island as cover, you're just gonna get YOLO'd by a destroyer. Because we all know destroyers, they have teleportation devices, and they can teleport to each island, right? Exactly where it is.
The French ones do.
And they'll just get you right.
Well, the thing is in isolation, each of these points can be true. Like, there are times that you should not be next to the island for the potential of being rushed by a French destroyer. There are times when you should be keeping your distance so you don't get farmed down by a load of HE spam. The problem is, those are specific scenarios, and this is general advice. If you want, like, the general advice that they're giving here is just be super passive. Never ever make any plays ever.
And the sad part is, like, in the video they go like, okay, depending on your battleship, some are better at distance, they even say long to medium distance, and some are better at like closer distance, and they say that in a battleship sometimes you need to push, and like they make good points, right? They say, I think they also said in the video that keeping your distance doesn't mean to be as far in the map, and they make the point that you are more accurate and more useful if you're closer, right? That's the points that they make in the video. And then they make the article out in the video and they're like, oh, no, just go away. Just keep your distance, right? That's how you do it.
I wonder who localized this. Like, genuinely, who wrote this article. Because I get the feeling that it was not whoever made the video that wrote the article to go with it.
Probably not.
It feels like that somebody, like, they created a video and then they went to somebody who I'm not sure if they played the game, and they're like, yes, just summarize this for us, please. Like, yeah, okay. It's like, it feels like the school project where they only read like the first page of a chapter and then they try to bullshit themselves through it by just bringing up the few points that they read.
It's like this next point. Work in a group. Keep in mind that a battleship is a white whale for the opposing team. Try to stay safely covered by allied AA guns, even though it is not always possible. We're going to ignore the fact that there might not be a CV in the game. We're going to ignore the fact that the CV might not be on your flank. We're going to ignore the fact that the CV might be 2 tiers lower than you. We're going to ignore all those facts. You should always blob up with your teammates. Never form a crossfire. Never ever decide, I'm going to make an opportunity here. I'm going to go away from the rest of my team to get a crossfire. No. We're going to sit in a big blob, sharing our AA and shooting HE at the enemy team, and we're just going to trade bow on for 20 minutes.
While being very far away, as we've learned earlier, right?
Oh, yeah. You have to convince. This is actually where the skill of playing battleships comes in, right? What you've got to do is you've got to teach your team how to be at the map border with you. You got to tell them, hey guys, did you not read the news article? You're getting too close. Come with me onto the map border and stay as far away. We paid for the 20-kilometer range. We're going to use the 20-kilometer range. But I only have 70-kilometer range. That's not my problem.
Use a range plane. Or mount the range module.
Oh, yes. Wait, are there any tier 10 battleships? Yeah, actually, Incom. I was thinking, what's the shortest range tier 10? It's just Incom, isn't it? Yeah. Meanwhile, there's a Gross Curvex with range mod and a spotter plane. Just be like, Why my guns are so inaccurate? Why can't I hit anything? Because you're in the range. You're on the map border and a range mod GK shooting HE. The only thing missing is survivability expert, and the only reason you don't have that is because they removed it from you. Ooh. I miss being able to tell who I couldn't rely on by whether they had survivability expert on the battleship or not. There was something really special about looking to your right and seeing the 1,100. Hang on, was it 112,300 health Kremlin because he had both survivability expert and Ovechkin. That's when you knew you'd found the true genius.
Then there is also like the last part of the article is like take your time. That basically save your salvos. Don't fire from all your guns at the first opportunity. I mean, the problem is there's a grain of truth in that. Like you want to pick your targets carefully if you're in a battleship, not necessarily shoot at the first thing that pops up. You want to shoot at the ship that like is vulnerable, it shows broadside or something like that. But you don't want to fire ranging shots, generally speaking, because most ships don't just go in a straight line, same speed, same course, and won't react when you shoot them, right? Especially once your shells start hitting, they probably gonna react. So first of all, you don't want to waste a broadside by only shooting one shell, right? And second, the information you get is probably useless. There are situations where you might not want to fire all of your guns. Maybe if you're very close, maybe your rear guns don't have the right angle or something like that. Or maybe you think like a one salvo is going to kill it. Or, there might be some fringe cases where you don't want to fire all of your guns. But ranging shots is generally not a thing.
It is when you're fighting against some really fast destroyers, I've found. If you're fighting against things like Kleber or Marceau or something like Ragnar, who's going to decide, like, you can stagger your shell. Like, staggering salvos is definitely a thing versus the kind of higher-end player who knows what they're doing.
But they aren't going to stay in the same speed, right? So once they see a shell drop, they're going to react anyway.
No, but, like, what I mean is you fire one gun, and then knowing that they're going to dodge that, you fire the second gun where you expect them to dodge too. This is especially effective against ships like Ragnar, who like to just like wiggle back and like sit there and SSS. You fire one shot just to the front of them, and they're going to reverse to dodge that salvo and catch the second one. That's a valid thing that you use a lot.
But only at the right distances, sort of, because otherwise they'll have too much time and react just to the second salvo as well.
I
mean, to be honest, on your ship.
I think they should have just not bothered with the article. Literally just had the video.
Honestly, you're not wrong. Like, they either need to do a proper point-by-point breakdown and explain why they're saying these things, in which case, why bother watching the video, or just not have the text at all. But look, I'm not going to complain about the video itself is high quality.
The fact that they've tried, that they are trying to put out this kind of information is good. It's just that they've kind of botched the actual article.
Yeah. Oh no, it's a good video. Don't read the article. You'll make you aware.
It doesn't have enough context.
I can't wait for the Destroyer article where it tells you not to run survivability expert, and you should always you don't need concealment expert. I know. Like, survivability expert's a crutch. You can get more torpedo DPM. It's like, no, please, no, don't tell me.
Well, I guess there's more hilariousness to come, probably, considering this. Then they also have introduced Discord drops. So apparently, if you are on the official Discord server, you can get free stuff.
Yeah, it's 550 community tokens or something like that.
Yeah, it's basically a combat mission, a very easy combat mission that I had pop up when I logged in today. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I went and looked at the portal and discovered why the mission had.
Yeah. I mean, I've been looking at some of the stuff that the NA gets, right? Because I've made my Discord bot tell me like the news articles from every region, and some of the NA stuff that they keep getting is like, why don't we get all this kind of stuff? Like, hang on, Warships portal news. Like, NA currently have Where is it? Where is it? They have like all sorts of contests going on in their forums. Like, why don't we like EU doesn't get any of this stuff? So, quick rundown of things happening on NA. Monthly forum event roll out. Stars and Stripes bounty events. You know those little bounty events where like people run around in premium ships like shoot me for 200 doubloons or whatever. We don't get any of that. Transformer social media contest, Liberty Enlightening the World forum event, Independence Day. Well, something we'd get.
There's a bunch of stuff like that that's always been like the NA community side have always been more like since the big reshuffle of splitting tanks and warships community sides of things. But yeah, NA's always had way more of that kind of stuff than other servers, I think.
On the plus side, we had that one event where you could win a 30-80 tie if you played co-op 1,000,000 times. Yeah, that was a thing. No idea why. No idea why they thought that was a good event. It's like, all right, we're gonna have this event, right? And what you do is you win battles, and the more battles you win, you win. Like, there's just one guy with 3,000 tokens. Nobody else is even close. I don't understand how like what value this brings to you. Why? I don't understand these things. But then again, I'm not in charge of these things, so I don't have to be.
Yeah, it has always been a bit sad that the Europe never got like those interesting events.
The one thing I do remember that they actively got CCs of the time to participate in was it was a good couple of years ago at this point, but the one where they had it technically went a bit wrong, but asymmetric battles, and you had the CCs in it's like a special aircraft carrier or something like that with insane secondaries.
And what was this? Some Halloween stuff, I think, right?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was Halloween or if it was just I can't remember the context of it at all. It's so many years ago, but yeah, the matchmaking kept going wrong. But basically, one team had you in the completely OP carrier. Like the planes were rubbish, but you had incredible secondaries, and the other team had, I think, either the regular number of players or even more players than usual. And basically, you had to take a note of the winners of, like, if your team successfully defended, then I think the allied players got some prize, and if the enemy team managed to get you, that player got some prize, or those players got some prize. So that was kind of fun, and that was something actually participatory and, you know, something that everyone had a random chance of bumping into if they were playing at that time.
Imagine having community events. No, too much. Honestly, I think ever since COVID hit, like, not only have the offline community events dropped off, there wasn't really much on the way of online community events to replace it, and it kind of just like pitted away a bit. We've had the one meetup on the Belfast, but that's been about it, really, isn't it?
For which they wouldn't even pay expenses to go and travel to.
Oh no, like they didn't pay our expenses, but I found out that the people that Imperial War Museums invited, they got paid.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they had their expenses paid. Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, Wargaming really tried to cheap out on that one.
I mean, why would you spend money, right?
Yeah, also didn't they have like this Belfast event where they set up like computers where people could play, so they used it for their own, like they're using the Belfast market again.
Yeah, that was that event, yeah.
Yeah.
The gaming room that they sponsored.
Yeah, that's still there. I've been down there twice now, once for the first event and then for the like actual community event. And like I remember going down there and they were complaining that apparently like so they have Xboxes and PlayStations set up for the Legends things. And apparently loads of kids had been going on the Xbox one and installing other games and just playing Fortnite and Minecraft on them.
I guess you can't. I guess it must be harder to set up lockouts on consoles for people doing that than it is on a PC.
Never underestimate a kid, like just a kid's ability to get around stupid little things like this.
Yeah.
Like they spend their entire lives trying to get around parental filters. Like, when you've got however many kids going through there a day, one of them's going to know how to get around the system. And once one of them gets around it, it's all right, we're going to play Fortnite now. It's like, what are you going to do if you work at the museum? It's just like, I don't know, to be honest with you. It's like, it's not my job to stop the kids playing Fortnite. It's not my kid.
So in other news, there is the Independence Day event. Now, I mean, event is, there is, by the way, in the article, there is like a join button somewhere, and then you get the mission chain, and then you can get, I think, the Statue of Liberty captain. Although I've seen some like a voiceover previews on YouTube, it wasn't really that great.
It's a good voiceover.
At least it's got a voiceover, a unique voice, I suppose.
It's probably the best voiceover we've had in the game for a while. It's better than all these like anime captains. It's actually not a bad voiceover.
I don't know that what I saw on the internet, it sounded sort of robotic.
No, nothing will ever compare to Steven Seagal. I mean, come on.
I think it's meant to sound robotic, like intentionally.
Okay.
Because it's a statue.
and the French accent is missing clearly.
Well, yes, we do. We do know that the Statue of Liberty is indeed French. It was a gift from France, but we don't. The Americans won't admit this. Like that, there's nothing more American than the Statue of Liberty, apart from the other like 20 odd statues of Liberty all over France. We don't talk about those ones. It's like when you talk about a Statue of Liberty, you don't talk about any of the French ones, despite the fact that that's the majority of them. No, it's always that one standing somewhere off the harbour of Manhattan.
True.
Oh, I'm being attacked by a headset cable. Hang on a second. Dangerous, these things.
Definitely. So yeah, there is basically a mission chain. Sorry.
Yeah, there's that, and probably the biggest highlight for most people is going to be the fact that black is now available for coal. If you've been waiting patiently for that, but there's also a whole bunch of bundles, and of course the San Diego.
Indeed.
Yes.
Which
that you can pay money for.
Yes.
And then you can pay more money for the camo for it.
I have absolutely no idea if the San Diego is worth it, but last I heard, it really wasn't.
No, it's actually pretty good.
Okay.
I don't know who you heard that from because they were completely mistaken.
I think this was earlier versions of the San Diego, maybe when they were still monkeying around with SAP damage and burst fire and all that kind of thing.
I think this was because somebody put a forum article out and hadn't played the ship, but everybody who was testing at the time was all biting their tongues because we all disagreed very much with the ship was overpowered, completely overpowered at the time. And this forum article came out about how it was like going to be terrible. And we're just like, we can't say anything. We're not allowed to say anything. We're all sat there just like, you're wrong, but we're not allowed to tell you you're wrong.
Oh, that's the worst thing.
Yeah. But it's like since then it got nerfed, and then it got nerfed again, and then it got nerfed again, and then it got nerfed again, and it's still strong. It's still like a really powerful ship. Like it's you only have SAP and AP, but SAP has improved bounce angles, and you're going to be penning things. Even if you just sat farming superstructure or Battleship, you're still going to get damage out of it. You got heals, and your armor's actually workable. Like also you can just do the old Atlanta trick of I'm going to sail flat broadside to you, and you're going to overpen me. Goodbye. Like it's a really strong ship. Plus the reload booster is quite potent as well. It's honestly like a good ship. It's
all right. Well, it's good to hear from someone who's actually played it because neither of us have, of course.
Yeah, like that's obviously the thing is like I've played it a lot and like, I've seen people getting like really good games in it, and I'm just sat there just like everything's bowing to me. I'm only getting 100,000 damage. Like wait, that's a good game. What are you talking about? Yeah, but I want something to turn broadside to me so I can do all of I can press the buttons and then I can watch like 10k go by every salvo when it's broadside. No. Yeah, it's just like, it's going to suffer in the same way other ships are. There's clear strengths and weaknesses. If something gives you side, even just a little bit of side because you have the improved SAP angles, you're going to do a lot of damage to it. The thing is that you're lacking is you're not going to do damage to super heavily armored targets that you can't pen. So, the Russian battleships you might have a problem with. But because you don't have access to like spamming fires. So it's if you like spamming fires, you're not going to like the ship. because you can't spam fires.
Mhm.
But if you're a good cruiser player, it's a very solid ship.
All right. Well, that sounds vaguely positive then.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
vaguely positive.
And it's what 11 something K doubloons, I think.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Is that?
Standard
11,300.
Yeah, I can't think offhand how that compares to other tier 8 cruisers, but it's not
I'll have the armory
super
open right now. I'll tell you.
priced or anything. There is a package that's almost as much. In fact, it's actually more the Statue of Liberty package.
Tony's
Wow.
11.3, Tiger's 11.3, Rochester's 11.3, Wichita's
Okay,
11.3.
all right. Well, that's pretty average then.
Yeah.
But yeah, where if you want the Statue of Liberty themed camo, and you can also get the 10-point captain, commemorative flag, and 7 million credits, along with a bunch of signals for nearly 12,000 doubloons. Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, that one I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
No, not a bad looking camo, but for that much, no.
Yeah.
Then you scroll down a little bit in this article, right? If you're in the armory and you see this page and you see this bundle chain, it's like, all right, San Diego, whatever. Then Statue of Liberty, meh. Kearsarge at the end there. Sure, it's technically cheaper than the current thing, but I'm not going to spend doubloons on Kearsarge. Well, because you'd have to buy Statue of Liberty first. But then you get to Kansas, Admiral Pack. And you begin to question things.
Definitely.
So you have available for currently discounted by 20%, by the way, 24,950 doubloons. You can buy the Tier 8 Tech Tree Battleship Kansas, along with Event Commander Dasha Perova, and a port slot, and a Permacamo, and also a Permacamo for Vermont. 7 million credits and 85,000 free XP in a combat mission. But why?
That is so horrendously not worth it.
Yeah. Why would you do this?
At least, I mean, it's still a bundle, and I have nothing but criticism when they do this. But this is relatively mild criticism by comparison. You can get the tier 9 and the tier 10 camos, just those, nothing else, but you have to get them together.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want the one for the Kansas, you have to pay over the odds for something that will involve the Kansas itself, and a bloated package that is absolutely not worth the doubloons.
Yeah.
So it sort of goes back to what we were saying earlier. Is, there's so many instances of you might see a camo in game and think, oh, I'd really like to just go and buy that camo, and then you discover that either you have to pay through the nose for a current event bundle camo, or else you cannot buy it at all.
I mean, I am looking forward to this eventual split of camo and permacamo parts, like visual style, because then I can only might actually go spend some these 200 doubloon permacamos with no bonuses. Cool, actually like it. I might actually buy every permacamo that ever comes out for events if it's just the visual style alone.
I mean, while I was a CC, a lot of the doubloons that they just gave us on a monthly basis, I know other people have got this massive pile of doubloons left over from for being ex-CCs, but not me, because I basically blew them all on permacamos just because I liked the look of the permacamo.
Yeah. I saved my first year worth of CC doubloons for Christmas, so I get every ship. And then after that, it was just, I'm just going to buy, permacamos. I think the last big splurge I did was buying the permacamos for all the Kobayashi things. Because, so the one thing I don't really like about this exterior separation thing is what they're doing with the improved permacamos, how they're just not going to be a thing anymore. So that's Kobayashi camos. Sure, the visual style is going to be a thing, but you're not going to have access to... If you don't already own it, you're not going to be able to get the...
Yeah, it's the same with the national camos, as they're called as well, on...
Warspite, Shinonome, and Graf Spee.
Yeah, the Graf Spee. And I think I've got the one on the Graf Spee. And I was pondering getting the one on Warspite, but then I decided, no, I've got I don't want to spend 5k doubloons for that on a tier 6 just so I can have that extra bit of bonus when I already have that extra bit of bonus on other higher tier ships.
Yeah, like honestly, if you're gonna buy one, just get the Roma one and be done with it.
Yeah, if you don't have any of them, having improved earning on a Warspite, because just Warspite's a really nice ship to play. It's a ship you can use in operations.
It's not like you have to go out and buy all of them. Shinanomi, for example, I wouldn't recommend anyone buys because Shinanomi's a terrible bloody ship. It doesn't matter how good the bonuses are if you can't actually get a good game of the damn thing. So, but yeah, the Roma one is probably the best one to go for because it's like higher tier and has like a solid modifier. But if you like,
although it does involve struggling with the Roma's guns, which is not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah, but I mean, what's your other choices there? You got Key and Ash Attack, which aren't going to fare much better.
Secondary Key is fun though.
I'll take your word for that one. I've never tried it myself, and I don't plan to either. Is it 100mm?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's I think it's the improved 100 mils that the destroyers have.
The magical 100mm Japanese guns.
Yes, because for some reason 100mm guns have more penetration capability than the guns with much larger calibers. So I think 155 Megami still like 100mm pens 30 for some reason, but 155 struggle to do 26.
Secret Japanese technology.
Well,
it's the Unicom dust in there, you know.
No, it's they fold the shell 1,000 times so it has more penetration. Yeah. Obviously, yes. But you can't do that with the bigger shells. You can only do it with a 100mm.
Yes, exactly.
Clearly.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't like about this Permacamo rework is the fact that those are no longer going to be available. I don't see why you can't just have like that, like the original boosters for those things. Just be like, you can buy this booster. Why does it have to be different? And for some reason, like they've decided that they have to do the full economy rework when they could have just done the.
I mean, they've been doing a stealth economy rework for a while now. They keep introducing a bit of a change here and a bit of a change there that's all kind of towards the same goal of like pulling credits out, pulling flags out, that kind of thing.
I think that just want to also make it easier maybe for new players or so, because like if you are starting the game new and you have like 4 slots where you can slot a credit boost, an XP boost, a free XP boost and so on, it's a lot easier than if you have like a bunch of different flags and signals that, you know.
Sure, but like people aren't going to have access to the flags and that to have to worry about it unless they spend a load of money. Although I suppose you do get the gift containers every now and then, which actually special signal rate has probably increased with the removal of flags from achievements and that switch to that system. It's just a combat system. The combat signals you're kind of struggling with. I think for the large majority of the game's player base, the removal of achievement signals probably a benefit, but for people who play a lot, like us, I assume,
there's
get screwed over.
Certain ones that I'm now starting to run rather low on, where previously I could kind of reliably get a certain number from just playing the game.
Dreadnought is probably the one that you're on about the most.
Yeah, and fireproof ones weren't that difficult to get.
Yeah, but like the thing is though, at the same time, is I'm pretty sure I have way more Arsonist and Witherer flags than I ever did before that rework. Same with Death flags, honestly.
I mean, what annoys me mostly about is that it was just a nice gesture, right? It's not just about a flag economy. It's you do something, you get an achievement for it, and you get rewarded for some flags, right? And especially detonation, it's like the consolation prize. Okay, you detonated, you got unlucky. Hey, you have some flags, like to soften the blow. It just was a great system, right? Because you could get a little bit of extra for a cool achievement that you earned. And that's been removed. And it's not just, about economy, I feel like. It's a lot about, I don't know, perception, feelings.
Yeah, I mean, like economy-wise, for the large majority of the game's player base, I think they're doing better with the change to the current system of do these combat missions, get the bonuses from the flags. But perception-wise, a majority of the community is still pissed off about, you've removed something that you've removed these achievements. Doesn't matter that I never got these achievements. I got them once every 20, 50 I got this achievement once every 50 games. I got the camel. I got these 10 flags for it. Doesn't matter that I'm getting more than that now from base XP chains. The fact is, I feel it's not. It's how it feels. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think they were looking into bringing back some sort of rewards for achievements, but it's too little, too late now. It's been gone for so long that I don't even think it's worth doing it anymore.
I mean, also, the cynic in me wonders how much is trying to get people to go into the armory more often. I've had to go and buy flags from the armory way more often than previously, which was hardly ever. But I mean, arguably, that's not nearly as big a hook into the armory as for every patch they do these kind of like get a little freebie thing.
Yeah.
For logging
click
in.
here to get your 75,000 credits, or your one of this flavor of the month camouflage. What is it? What's it this month? Like
usually there's at least one of them that gives you like 50 doubloons or 100 doubloons or something, but
there is,
yeah, it's all designed to get you to go in and go, oh yeah, there's all this other stuff I could buy.
1 stars and stripes camouflage. Wow.
Yeah.
Don't spend it all in one place.
I know, right? I mean, I go in the armory a lot anyway, just because like modules, like equipment, like it's just I don't really look at the featured part of it though. It's like there's like 2 tiers of the armory. One part of the armory is this whole like, these are the sales. Buy me, buy me, buy me, buy me, buy me, buy me. And if you just like, I've learned to tune that part out. I'm just here to get my free stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, how many tokens have I got? I'm just blind to all of the like the flashy lights and buy me stuff.
What I've also noticed is that when they introduce new bundles or so on, you usually don't see the price of the bundle unless you clicked on the bundle. So if you aren't sure if there is anything for free, you might have to click. Like when they came out, for example, with like how was it called? Probably still running the whatever depot thing. The Ruckus in the depot, and there are all of those many bundles, and it was like there are so many bundles, maybe there is something that you can get for free. So and you have to click on every bundle, and then you're like, oh no, I have to pay for that, no, I have to pay for that, no, I have to pay for that, no, I have to pay for that. Okay, this was a disappointment.
I was really not a fan of this Ruckus in the Depot event, by the way. It's still there, by the way. The event's still active.
It's a stupid cash grab. It's so stupid because it's like it's gambling, but you are gambling for more gambling, because even like the grand prize is just a box with a random ship in it. Mm-hmm. So you spend hundreds of dollars, pounds, euros, whatever your currency is, in order to open random boxes to get a random box that has something random inside. It's just bullshit.
Yeah, it's a... What's the word? Gacha? Is that the word that they use for like those mobile games?
Yeah, I think
it's a gacha gated behind a gacha, gated behind a virtual currency. You got to spend a virtual currency to get another virtual currency to have a chance of getting something useful.
Yeah,
I'm always very loud about how much I don't like microtransactions and like loot boxes and all this kind of stuff. I have accepted skins and cosmetics as an in-app purchase. I've accepted that now. For years, I thought that was dumb as hell as well. But I'm like, it's a lot less toxic than having to watch adverts, or it's free-to-play monetization. There are parts of free-to-play monetization that I despise, i.e., your loot boxes and your virtual currencies, and we're gonna gate this behind this, and then we're gonna have these random bundles. They're not actually they're not loot boxes. They're random bundles. You know exactly what you're gonna get, except you like this one's crap. You don't actually want this one. that doesn't matter. You have to buy this one to get the next one. So what you're saying is, I don't. But what if I maybe want what's in the next one? You're not gambling though. You're buying this one. We'll tell you what's in the next one if you buy this one though. Yeah, but I don't want this one. Yeah, but it's a sequence. You have to buy them. But I don't want this one. But it's not loot boxes. You know what I mean? This is it's the whole thing. I don't like it. The fact that people argue that it's not a loot box is they're either being intentionally disingenuous or they're thick. There's no two ways about it. You're either lying to me or you're stupid. It's gambling. It's loot boxes. It's all the same thing. Doesn't matter what fancy label it is. It's not surprise mechanics or anything like that. It's just simply gambling.
Yeah.
And it comes with all the problems associated with problem gambling, i.e., disproportionate effect on vulnerable communities such as veterans or, like the poor, basically. People are going to be spending money that they can't afford to spend just because they don't really realize what they're spending because it's all gated behind these virtual currencies. Like if you go in this rocket in the dockyard and he's like, oh, I've got a couple of thousand doubloons. I'll do a couple of rolls. You know what I mean? You don't remember how much you spent on those doubloons. You just know I bought some doubloons a while ago. You can't remember.
That's this kind of obfuscation is kind of one of the primary reasons why a lot of games have this kind of whole separate currencies thing. I mean, at least War of Warships has only got one separate currency that you pay for money.
No. If we look at the armory right now, right? If we go look in the armory right now, let me quickly have a look and how many different.
At least I'll give it this. They let you buy an amount of doubloons that you want to buy. A lot of free-to-play games have what Josh Strife-Hayes calls abusive pricing, where they only sell bundles of currency that is at odds with the amount that, like, the pricing in game does not match the amount that you can buy the bundles of currency for.
Yeah, but Wargaming just has it in another layer, because you can buy the amount of doubloons you want, so can buy the amount of bundles that you want, but the bundles have a different currency that you need for the next, and that might not match up.
Yeah, in this particular instance, it is completely egregious. I'm talking just on a more general level of it, it could be worse. It's always sad when that's the best thing you can say, but yeah.
So
Wargaming just hides it better.
Currently, we have the Ruckus token, or whatever the hell it's called. Depot tokens, right? But the Depot tokens you need to buy doubloons to get, so that's 2 levels of virtual currency. And then you have this other virtual currency, coal, which you get by playing the game. And you have this other virtual currency, steel, which you get from playing the game. But then you also have this other virtual currency called XP. But you can spend some of your doubloons to buy some free XP. But you could also convert some of your free XP into Commander XP. And you can do all of these things by spending so like we have so many different virtual currencies. I mean, it's all designed to confuse people.
Yeah. You can also buy like credits for the doubloons, and then sometimes there might be an auction where you can spend doubloons or credits on. I mean, if you can spend credits on coal for an auction, but you can buy the credits first with the doubloons, and it's. Yeah, it all ends up in somewhere in doubloons and their pockets.
But hey, we are definitely in a lot better place than we were a year ago. 100% a much better place than we were a year ago. We have drop rates now. We have explicit explanations of the mercy rules, where we don't have like ships that are only available via random boxes. Sure, there's like early access and that things, but like eventually they go like it's not like we had Agincourt, where the only way to get Agincourt originally was to get it from this random Jutland container. Like, we now explain specifically, this is how you get this ship. Sure, you can have it earlier than other people, but then everybody's just like, don't buy it. Don't buy it. Wait. Just wait. Like, we all do. We do it all the time. Like, Johan the Wit, when that was like 72 like random bundles or whatever, so you could like try and get that. And like we all logged onto our press accounts. It's like, all right, how many rolls does it take you guys to do this? And it was like 72 on EU, and then on my other press, it was like 64 rolls on my NA press account. And it's like, yeah. So you're saying right? Then we'll go do some quick maths, right? We'll go work out just how many doubloons this would have cost a person.
Yeah.
Like, defeating the layers of obfuscation is one of our primary responsibilities as content creators when we're working with our community, I think. Like we basically know our way around this game well enough to tell people what is bullshit and what they're being scammed on. And that's something we take pride in. Like, it's like, we know what we know what you need to work, what we know how wargaming work. We need to know what you need to look out for. We've petitioned wargaming to get some of the older scummy tactics that they used to use gone entirely. It used to be you didn't know what the odds of you getting a certain ship were. Now you know exactly what your chance of getting it is, and if you don't get it in this many rolls, you go and get it on this roll. And you know exactly how much money that's going to cost you. Well, at least you know how many doubloons it's going to cost you. And then we can tell you this is how much real life money it's going to cost you. You can at least make an informed decision now compared to what it used to be. It's like, this ship might have this box might have this ship in. What's the drop rate? It's a mystery.
Yeah.
They have improved, although I have to say something like the Arcus event that we've mentioned before. It's a concerning step again, right? Because they have been on, at least with the drop rating, so they've been on an improvement path, but this event was just absolutely terrible.
2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah, but at least it's still making forward progress. If it was 1 step forward and 2 steps back, we'd have much bigger problems. But the fact that we're actually making forward progress, I'm still gonna I'm still gonna put my feedback in. I'm still gonna tell them I don't agree with what you're doing here. This is why. This is why. This is why. And I'm gonna hopefully maybe help them realize why we have a cultural disconnect with some of these things, about why we think that this is so abhorrent sometimes. Put the human face to it and be like, hey, no, no, we don't like this. Meanwhile, Belgium, we're just gonna ban you loot boxes, see us. And all the Belgian players are just like, there's a ruckus in the depot event, is there? Is it nice? No, it's a complete scam. Oh, okay, that makes me feel better at least. But don't worry though, we're gonna do an auction. Actually, the auctions have got better as well. I was about to slate the auctions to fuck, whereas you have to bid a mystery amount to see how many doubloons you better bid as much as you can to make sure that you don't miss out on this fantastically rare ship, the Gremyashi. It's like, how many doubloons are you gonna bid? I don't know. I'll bid all my CC doubloons, I guess. 20,000, whatever. Turns out it sold for 10,000 at most. It's like, well, tough, you overbid by 10,000. You got screwed. Enjoy your ship though. Bye. At least they've changed that system now. I think the last time they auctioned the ship was Musashi, and everybody paid the lowest bidder. But at the same time, I'm not sure if they're gonna make more or less than that, because people are gonna be like, oh, I get the refund. Okay, I'll just bid more then. It's fine. I'll just bid, everybody's just going to be bidding over what they were normally going to be paying. I don't know if they're going to be making more or less doubloons this way. Depends on what the top end whale was.
Good question.
It depends. I think it really depends on just the 1% outlier, the person who was the top end bidder, and how many people they were worth. Because if you imagine I don't know, let's go with the Schlieffen auction, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I think that went for 22,000 doubloons or something in that general region, which meant that approximately, I don't know, I think it was 1,000 of them went out. So if we assume 1,000 people, that's 2.2 million doubloons or something. If there's one person who's decided to bid 500,000 doubloons, he's making up for 20 people, 20, 40, 50 people. It depends on the top end. So I really don't know if they're going to be I don't know if this is healthier or not. I know it's going to be healthier for the individual person, but as an overall, I don't know if it's they're going to be making more or less money off people. But hey, I just tell people to avoid the auctions in general though.
Yeah, probably better.
Unless it's the credit auction. I usually tell people, yeah, you should bid 100 million credits on the coal. It's actually kind of worth it. That's the only one though.
Well, in a more their kind of sale thing. They now have Warships merch in a new merch store or something. So if you want the Ship Happens t-shirt or I have a couple of t-shirts.
Create a code.
Make sure you use our affiliate link.
Unfortunately,
we'll actually get affiliate links. That'll be nice, wouldn't it?
But the sad part is that those t-shirts cost a fraction of what digital ship. Like, if you want to buy a tech tree ship like the Kansas, you're gonna pay more than for these t-shirts. So it's something to think about.
Yeah,
some of them are not bad designs as well.
You think that's bad? You know how much these go for?
No idea.
These things are expensive. I think there was like auctions for these things. I think these went for like $100 for charity.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, like the charity auctions for these on the official Discord last time, they were like $100 or something. Turns out these are gold.
Although people might just bid more because it's for charity.
Yeah. I definitely bid more for charity, I suppose. I think the first one I got from this was like a gift from somebody who won it in a charity auction. Then the second one I won myself in a charity auction. Then the third one I got was from the Belfast. And I think the fourth one I got was from when I went to Prague. And then the fifth one, actually I can't remember what. I need more of these, by the way. I need 15 so I can cosplay as Shimakaze and just go dev strike somebody in real life. Just run up and be like, eh! I'm going to pick those up now.
You now need to build a launcher for them.
Yeah.
You have to modify a Nerf gun or something to shoot those.
No, we just need an actual Shimakaze. It's like we just need an actual, like a model Shimakaze. I mean, what scale is this?
Like,
I have no idea.
Who's the naval expert around here? One of you two. It's not me.
No,
I don't know.
Well, me neither. Jedi is the expert. Let's go with that.
All right, Jedi.
It depends what type of torpedo if you're scaling them to. Like I think the standard 21-inch were 533 mil.
Right. Well, hang on. Let me get a tape measure out.
And then the Japanese ones were bigger. I can't remember. They were like 600 and something.
Right. Well, this is about.
The question is, are the proportions even right, or shouldn't it be longer?
Probably not. No, they should definitely be longer.
It's about a foot long, so like I don't know. If you can convert that into inches, and then you can get the scale of it. Although these are quite chubby. Like these are definitely a bit chubbier than a real torpedo is.
Oh yeah, they are short and girthy in comparison to actual torpedoes.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to avoid those jokes. There are several jokes I could make right now. Keep it PG, even though I've been swearing all podcast, and I didn't actually ask if it was okay to swear at the start.
Yeah, this is fine.
Okay, thank God.
Well, I mean, we have used bad language like aircraft carrier and submarine repeatedly throughout the whole podcast. So, yeah,
that's fine. It just means you have to go back through the entire thing and listen to every time I swear, which is going to be just basically we going like beep over the top of like every beep sentence I say. Beep. I need to get one of those things in real life. I think I don't know what they're called, but just the beep.
I mean, is that like a real? I mean, well, real process. Wouldn't it be like easier to just generate the sound with the computer?
Probably yes, but it's much less fun. You need a big button.
That's true.
I could just buy like a big arcade button and then just hook it up to a thing on. Probably be similar.
Yeah.
Beep. Yeah. Okay. I need to stop that now.
Yeah, I mean, generally, I think we've covered all the news we've had in the past week. Or is there anything else you guys wanted to discuss?
I think that's pretty much it, unless there's been any last-minute discoveries of even deeper warship wrecks. Probably not.
I've heard nothing.
No, I think there was just that one. Was it Sullivan's? I think it's just Sullivan's. Wait, was it Sullivan's or I just made that up? That up.
Jedi naval expert.
Who? What? Where? What? Who? Me? What?
They
What
found
day
a
is
it? It was
destroyer
Sullivan's.
somewhere. No, they
It
found
was Sam. Oh, the Samuel B. Roberts was the one that was.
Roberts. Okay, not Sullivan's. What's Sullivan's then?
The Sullivans was that a destroyer or a cruiser?
It's
It
a
was named
destroyer.
after the Sullivan brothers that all died.
Wait, is that the one that was sinking somewhere? I don't even know. Look, I'm not very good at warships. Both the game and real life and remembering history. So I'm just gonna leave it to the expert.
There was a Fletcher class called the Sullivans, and then there's been a Sullivan since then.
Makes sense.
See, you are a naval expert, Chennai.
Well, vaguely. Yeah, there's been an Arleigh Burke called the Sullivans as well.
What's an Arleigh Burke?
It was actually, I mean, this sort of ties into the San Diego. It was an Atlanta class that the Sullivan brothers died on, USS Juneau, during the Battle of Guadalcanal, and I totally just knew that offhand and definitely wasn't looking up Wikipedia.
Well, no, there's a commander called Arleigh Burke that appeared in my port the other day, and I don't know whether... I think he was from the USS Black event. I'm not sure. I'm confused. It's just a random 12-pointer that I just appeared in my port. I'm just where did you come from? I think actually it might have been from the web campaign.
Possible.
I don't know.
Someone's complaining that we haven't talked about cats enough today. Mine's currently outside.
What's your favorite cat?
I did buy him some catnip flavored treats, which he quite likes for some reason. So that's my cat news for the week. Obviously, the most important topic we've left till last.
Definitely. Yeah, my cats are chilling. I think Whiskey is in the sink and Sabrina is somewhere.
Usually I keep my whiskey in a bottle.
Yeah, the whiskey's probably not moving around.
I think I've got a bottle of whiskey up there from the QE2 that was apparently bought on the day I was born. I got it from my grandparents' house. Apparently.
What kind of whiskey? You have my full attention now.
Let's go find out. 1 sec. Oh yeah. You can tell it's old because it's covered in dust. Yes. What is it? QE2 single malt Scotch whiskey from the day I was born, apparently. Yeah, this appears to be like a thing. Apparently, what the? Yeah. Looks fancy.
Yeah, definitely.
Apparently, it's over 12 years old. Yes, I am definitely over 12 years. I've got somebody now. One day I'll drink this, but I think I have to save it for a special occasion now. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You said whiskey, and I just remember we're talking about ships, and said whiskey, and then I was like, there's ship whiskey up there. Let me go get it.
Yeah, I do have several bottles of whiskey and a cat called Whiskey. There might be a correlation.
Yeah. So, why did you call the cat Sabrina instead of Salem?
Sabrina is female. Salem sounds more like a male name.
Maybe you could have called them Whiskey and Rum. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have. I could have called him Salem instead of Whiskey, I guess. Then I would have Sabrina and Salem. But now I have Sabrina and Whiskey.
At least I can say Sam is properly naval themed because he is partly named after the famous naval cat. Although, of course, there's other naval Sams as well, like Samuel Hood. Anyway,
Yeah.
we should probably wrap things up. We're just rambling at this point.
Yeah, honestly, I've been thinking here, like, am I supposed to be being entertaining now? Because I've given up being entertaining. I was like, I'll like say a sentence, and then you'll both stare at me as I finish the sentence. Like, am I supposed to be going? Look, I've got nothing. I'm just gonna, yeah. See, it happened again.
No, we were sort of about to finish, and then we got sidetracked, which happens, because we've started talking about cats. But
Blame chat.
We will blame chat.
I will definitely blame chat. All chats.
Exactly. So where can we find you, Painezor? On Twitch? Do you have other content? YouTube?
Twitch.tv/Painezor. I do have a YouTube, but it's kind of dead. Look, it's just like my YouTube's basically a VOD dumping ground for King of the Sea usually, or whatever tournament. The problem with that is like last few tournaments I haven't been on my own channel because I've been doing it for the official channel, and let's just say I'm not going to be putting that camera work on my channel. you know what I mean? But yeah, twitch.tv/Painezor. It's spelled Painezor. A lot of people miss out the E, and there's one guy without the E who keeps getting followers and then wondering who the hell is. What? Hey, Painezor, why'd you stop playing World of Warships? I've never played World of Warships. That's a different Painezor. Please leave me alone. Why do you people keep doing this? It's like, at some point, we're just gonna get him to I'm just gonna get him up. He's like, if you're looking for the guy with googly eyes, go to this channel. I just need to have I need to have a gentleman's agree with the man. Yeah, that's where you can find me. I stream every Thursday, usually right after the official stream ends. So you can come check me out there.
Okay, then thanks for joining us. It has been a pleasure.
It has.
And
I quite enjoyed this.
have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye.